Everybody, welcome back to the VoV podcast, Voices of Vic. Today I am joined with the Elle Nelson, second year human biology major and double minoring in physiology and women and gender studies, also varsity athlete. So Elle, thank you very much for coming on and making the time for us today.
No worries. I'm happy to be here. It's going to be fun.
I agree, 100%. We're going to talk about some interesting topics. Hopefully, that's all we do here.
Of course.
And I'll ask you some hard-hitting questions, maybe some big questions today. And we'll see if you got some big answers. You're from BC. We were talking about BC before the cameras came on here.
Yeah, off the record.
Off the record. How was growing up in BC? What can you say about your start in the world as young Elle, Lil Elle?
Growing up in BC was fantastic. I loved it so much. Grew up spending a lot of time in nature. It's just a great place to grow up. There's a lot of beaches near my house. It rains a lot, which I find really comforting, but I know that many people here do not enjoy the rain so much. Something I noticed about here is everyone uses umbrellas.
Thank you for noticing that, because I'm the biggest anti-umbrella person there is. Like, the water's not going to kill you.
No one from home uses an umbrella. And so whenever I see rain here and people are using umbrellas, I'm like, for why?
This is amazing. I'm so happy we started with this. I'm super anti-umbrella from Ontario.
Yeah, it just seems like such a hassle to carry it everywhere and to like shake it out.
Yep.
Like, you have a hood, and even if you don't have a hood, just get your hair wet. It does not make a difference.
Man, that bothers me. It's a pet peeve. Umbrellas are a pet peeve.
They're weird. I feel like there's so many spy movies where you have like the umbrellas, like the guns, like hidden inside. No, it's in Batman. The Penguin. You know the Penguin villain from Batman?
Yes.
That's what I was thinking of.
I can't walk around people on the sidewalk when they got their
it's so
3
annoying.
umbrellas.
And you can't even walk like around them on the sidewalk because there's so many puddles from the rain.
Exactly.
Yeah. Pet peeve for sure.
Definitely a pet peeve. And for some reason, I don't know why it is, but it was just the universe decided to make the slowest walkers the umbrella holders also. You can't get around, and they're just blocking the entire lane.
They should do like a study, like correlation between like slow walking or like walking pace and like using an umbrella. I feel like that's very interesting.
I agree. You are a varsity athlete. How important would you say, keeping your fitness up, your health up, it has contributed to your success? You're here at UofT, best school in the country. Does fitness play a role in that?
I'd say fitness is just a big part of my life. I feel like I've had a progression with how I consider fitness in my life. I used to think of it as like, I need to go on a run because otherwise I'm going to get slow and I'm going to be unhealthy, and then I'm not going to be able to eat everything I need to get stronger. But I feel like I've kind of had a mindset shift with that over the past couple of years, whereas now, honestly, for me, fitness is just kind of like a fluffy like interest, if that makes sense. Like, I like fitness the way I like listening to music. Like, it makes me feel good, and if I go to the gym, it's just something that I enjoy and will make me feel better about my day, and I'll feel productive having done it, which I think is the only way I can like realistically maintain it in my life. But I do love being active, and I think that it's really good to have scheduled fitness times to like go to the gym or go on a run or something or do a fitness class, because just having a schedule just makes it easier to like run your life. At least I think.
I agree. No, I agree. Schedule is definitely important. You need to be on track of your time, and fitness is, especially with the gym, like I usually like to start my day at the gym.
Me too. That's what I prefer.
Yeah, because it's usually going to the gym is the hardest thing you're going to do in a day.
Oh, really?
So usually. I mean, I find working out more difficult than studying. You know what I mean? Or taking a test.
Oh my God, I'm the other way around.
You think studying's harder?
Yes.
You don't push yourself enough. You gotta be doing some bench press.
I bench.
You bench?
I bench.
Okay, never mind. But the reason I like doing it in the morning is because if I can get myself through a workout, then the rest of the day is just like, this is easy.
I feel like it's kind of nice too, because I find it's easier to motivate myself to get up early for a workout than it is to get up early and study. And so at least then I'll have my day starting earlier, but can do something a bit more mindless, because maybe exercising isn't easier, but it definitely is more mindless, requires less brain power. So you just get that over with and your day's already started. You might as well just now, you're already at Gold Ring. Go to Robarts. It's right there.
100%.
Do some studying.
100%. Especially in university and college. Like, obviously studying is a lot of time. Like, you have to dedicate yourself to school. Like, that's the first priority. But if you can keep your health up at this age, then the rest of it is easy.
Totally. And that's something that's so overlooked here. I feel like there's almost like a toxic culture at U of T of like, oh, I'm not taking care of myself. I'm an academic weapon. Like, if you're not pulling an all-nighter like 4 days out of the 7 days of the week, you're not doing enough and everyone else is doing more. You had 1 Red Bull today? I had 7. Like, do you ever experience that here?
Yeah, sometimes. I try not to surround myself with those people. It can get annoying for sure.
It's like very glamorized, and then you feel guilty for getting sleep, but you need sleep.
Yeah.
And we learn about it because I'm in science. We learn about how important sleep is, and then, like, I guarantee you, like 80% of the class has not had more than 5 hours that night.
In the long run, if you look at the most successful people, they're sleeping, whether it's not necessarily sleeping like 9-10 hours. I'm sure you can get away with 7 hours, as long as it's consistent. I think the main thing is not necessarily getting a lot of sleep, but more just going to bed and waking up at the same times every day.
I kind of agree.
Do you keep up with that, or?
Okay.
You try.
As much as I'm talking about how important sleep is, it's probably the area of my life that I need to improve the most. I'm not the best at sleeping. I have you heard of bedtime procrastination before?
No, I can get what that means though.
Yeah, I struggle with that. I feel like I have such a busy day. I'll be out, like, I'll leave my house around 7 to go to the gym, and I won't come back until like after 9 because I'll just have like brought all my meals with me and have been studying and at class all day or at practice. And I come home and I'm like, oh, I deserve a break. And you know what the most productive break would be? To sleep. Do I want to do that though? No. So I sit downstairs in my living room or my kitchen, and my roommates and I have the best time talking. We'll look at the clock. It's like midnight. Or I'll just want to, like, I'll go to bed and I'll be like, oh, I want to go on my phone. Like, I deserve this. I've been off it all day. And then you're on TikTok for like an hour. Like, it's just I don't know. I just feel like I'm like, oh, I deserve some me time. And then I put sleep to the back burner, which is a little too bad.
Yeah, that's fair. Especially with TikTok, you can get caught. Like, if you just start scrolling, and then you kind of open your eyes and blink and check the screen time, you're like, oh,
yeah, totally.
This is not good. I've been using screen time as like my main video game right now. I try to beat my record every single week. So I was doing good. I was like, what was I at? When it was an issue was like 7.5.
7.5 hours?
Average per day.
Oh my God.
Which was bad. It was bad. No, I'm not wasting time completely. Like, some of it's for school.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I'm watching like, course videos, but still 7.5 is too much. So I'm like, this is bad. I got to fix it. I dropped it down to 4 the next week, right away. 4. That was good.
That's impressive.
Week after that, 2.5.
Oh, wow.
Amazing. And I'm like, oh my God, my life is improving. And then reading week hit.
Reading week is I just feel like I get so set back on reading week because you don't have like the stress of school. So you like relax, and then you just cannot get yourself going again.
Reading week hit. And then, reading, I set all this stuff up during reading week. So I had to like edit a bunch of stuff.
See, that's productive.
Yeah, I guess. Set up the YouTube account, but the screen time was like over 12 hours.
Oh, wow.
And now I'm back on the slope of trying to get it back down.
That's fair.
Hopefully.
Do you have your screen time connected like on all your devices? Like,
no.
Yeah, because I only have mine on like my phone and then like my iPad and my computer. So I always look at each one. I'm like, oh, that's okay. But I don't like add up.
They're split between the 3. Yeah.
I never add up all the actual hours I spend, and I'm not going to, because I think sometimes ignorance is bliss,
Usually I don't care too much about the laptop screen time because I'm productive on my laptop.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't watch YouTube on my laptop.
Me neither.
I'm not doing like entertainment stuff on here.
It's the phone.
It is a phone, yeah. It's something about it. I don't know. Swiping is you can get lost in swiping way more than you can get lost in like
totally
on the trackpad,
Yeah, I completely agree.
We're talking about sleep, eating. Do you eat 3 meals a day? Are you consistent with that?
I'm pretty consistent with that.
Yeah.
It's definitely something, as I was telling you about before we got started, something I really struggled with, having been at home my entire life where, your mom buys such great food. The fridge is always stocked. Like, I'd have dinner made for me every night. And then I lived in residence last year. So you just go to the dining hall. It's so easy. And then suddenly this year, I'm like living off campus by myself, having to fend for myself. Breakfast, I'm always been pretty good at because I always get really hungry in the morning, and breakfast food is easy. Lunch, like, just make a sandwich every day, does not change. dinner, that's a whole other story, because when you come home from a long day and if you have not meal prepped, there is no motivation to actually make dinner. So sometimes I literally will end up eating breakfast just for 3 meals a day. But I do hit those 3 meals. They just might all be breakfast foods.
Yeah. It takes a lot of time to cook.
Yeah,
it takes a lot of time to cook. And you live with 4 of your friends?
Yeah. So there's like a house of like 5 girls. So it's chaotic. Like we have 1 kitchen, 5 girls, 1 fridge. Kitchen, there's just always things going on.
Do you guys like do like a cycle, or is it just everyone cooks for themselves?
How we found it works the best is just everyone cooking for themselves, because you know everyone has different like dietary like requirements or preference, and also just different eating schedules. Like for instance, not all of my roommates really eat breakfast, but I have a massive breakfast every day because I just love it. And usually my dinner will be a bit smaller, you know?
I think that's what you're supposed to do. That's healthy, right? Big breakfast, small dinner, I think.
Okay.
You might have just discovered it yourself, but I think that's an actual thing.
Okay, but I say small dinner, and do I snack so much after dinner? Yes.
Fair.
The one thing in our house is everyone has a big bag of chocolate chips, and we'll just sit around our dining room table and just eat chocolate chips.
I'm thinking of coming back to res, honestly.
Really?
I'm thinking of it to live.
Wow.
Yeah, we're trying to get into RJ, me, Krishna, and a couple other guys.
Oh, so the sweet one.
Yeah. So that'll be fun. Fingers crossed. But I guess that would be 3 years in a row. I honestly don't see an issue with res. You obviously wanted to get out. What would you say?
Okay, that's a little unfair. I didn't want to get out.
What do you like better about not being in res?
Okay, I really like having the independence. As much as it's really easy to just go to the dining hall and grab whatever food, it's nice to be actually in control about what you're eating, because sometimes, I mean, I do not want to hate on Victoria College at all. I have had some great meals there. I miss the sandwich bar to this day. I loved that sandwich bar. It was one of my favorite places to eat.
This is not affiliated with Victoria College at all, so you can say whatever you want. We can't get in trouble. We're good.
No, but like, I don't want, and you know, obviously you're not going to be getting the best food at a dining hall, but they're doing the best that they can. And for what it's worth, like I think I had a pretty good experience at a dining hall, but just sometimes I wasn't always craving what was on the menu. And if I want to eat cereal for dinner, I can eat cereal for dinner.
Yeah.
I can eat cake for dinner. Like I can do whatever I want. And it's just nice to have that more control, and also to really have your own space, which you don't have in res. And because I live in a house with more people anyways, it's not like I'm really missing the social aspect of res too much.
Yeah.
I definitely miss just running into people who I wouldn't normally see all the time in my, like in the hallway or something.
Yeah.
Like, because the residence that we lived in had such a great setup. So when you actually left, you had to run into people in the common room. So you'd always end up like chatting and being social, which was definitely ate up some time, but was like a really good thing overall, I think. So just like being in more control. And it's also, it makes you feel almost like, this is going to sound so cheesy, but like empowered to be like in charge of your own life.
Yeah.
You know?
I cannot cook for shit. If you had to give, we have a kitchen in Margat.
Yeah, I've never cooked in there.
I never use that. we have there are like 7-8 Indonesians on our floor this year.
Oh, do they cook a lot?
They love cooking. It smells amazing. It smells really good. So sometimes I'll just walk by and be like, you guys, this is top notch. Keep it up.
Yeah.
All day. But yeah, no, definitely the social experience on res is good. But like you said, you already made those friends, and then you guys made your group and took it off somewhere else.
I also feel like sometimes like maybe you have different aspects, or not different aspects, a different perspective than me, because you lived in res, or you're living in residence for your second year. But I feel like it's not really an experience you can really repeat. And I don't want to say I wanted to like get out of it, because I really did love living in residence. Like I made like my best of friends ever, and I really did like our floor that we lived on. Everyone was really nice. I liked when you'd go back into the building and you see the common room, and everyone would just chat for a minute. That was really fun. But I don't know, I just feel like it'd be hard to like repeat that, just because the group wouldn't be there, you know? It's not the same, it's not the same floor. It's
no,
not
that
the
makes
same
sense.
Atmosphere.
That makes sense for sure. Cat's not in her head. But yeah, no, we had a good group last year. Yeah, definitely. 100%. I agree. But all of your friends were from Margat.
No, one was from Annesley, so that's just like the building across the street, but everyone's from Victoria College.
Yeah.
We were just like it was so fun. We just like go to the dining room hall together, eat our dinner, and just like, let's go to the library, and we just like hang out in a big group.
Are you guys going to be living together for the rest of university then?
I hope so.
Yeah. Hopefully no one ditches.
Yeah. We were actually just talking about renewing our lease last night, and it seemed like everyone was on board.
That's awesome.
I really do love living in my house. It's just all the girls are so great, and we all get along so well.
That's good. When university's over, what is the plan?
What is the plan?
Not for necessarily you guys. Hopefully you guys stick together. But obviously everyone has their own aspirations. Francesca's doing econ stuff. She's thinking of going to London that we talked about.
So sad.
What are your plans?
For me, over the past 2 years, actually, to preface this, I've always really been interested in medicine from a very young age, and particularly with biology. I've always had a fascination with it. And also over the past couple of years, especially during COVID, you know how everyone was in their social activism phase? So was I.
Yeah.
You know, not to say it's a phase. You should always support what you believe in. But you definitely just had more time to consume more information. And also the world, because they had more time, was actually taking a look at maybe some of the structures which shouldn't have been in place. But I became really interested in women's issues, particularly women's health. So I would love one day to actually be an obstetrician and a gynecologist. That's the goal I'm working towards, or maybe doing some sort of career in sexual health as well. Just kind of giving a voice and also providing care to maybe some groups who have actually been more overlooked in the past. And I've also had my own experiences with healthcare and getting service as women, and most of them have been positive, but there's also a lot of factors that go into having a positive experience. And I just feel I would also find that work very rewarding, but it's tough.
That's good.
It's tough.
Are you learning much about that right now in your life sci courses, or not really?
Not particularly to do. Kat's shaking her head. Not particularly to do with obstetrics or gynecology. I remember I was in a physiology course, and we did a reproductive unit, and also a reproductive unit. So we learned about pregnancy, and we learned about the male reproductive system and the female reproductive system. And I have never been a more I don't even just encapsulated in a lecture. You know how most people, when they watch the online lectures, they'll watch them in 2x speed.
Yeah.
I was in 0.5. I was I gotta soak up all of this.
Taking it all in.
Yeah. So I guess that's really the only entry or window I've seen into that career specifically. But I think that in a lot of our courses, now that we're getting a bit older and I'm out of the big weeder courses and more focusing specifically on my degree, a lot of my smaller health courses have been focusing more on the social aspects of health and the ethics of it, which I guess more ties into what I'm interested in.
Yeah.
So I think that's really where my interest is not dwindling, if that's what you're asking. I'm definitely being more it's being peaked as I go throughout my degree.
Are you the first person in your family that's doing anything related to this, healthcare wise, or do you have
no not at all?
Both are your parents in that, or siblings? What?
No. So my mom is a teacher, so
Okay.
she has nothing to do with healthcare, but my dad is a surgeon. So
oh my goodness.
He has been healthcare, and my grandpa is a family doctor, and my uncle is a family doctor,
Okay.
and my other uncle is a dentist, and I have another uncle who's an orthopedic surgeon. So
Follow the Nelson family tree.
Yeah.
Continuing the legacy.
It's definitely very prevalent in my family to go into healthcare, but not obstetrics or anything. So that's all me.
There you go. No, that's cool. That's unique. Do you have siblings?
I have 3 younger siblings.
3 younger siblings. Okay. Oldest
Yeah.
sibling, just like me, obviously. Oldest sibling is a superior level of sibling to be.
There's just not really.
Sorry. But how old are your siblings?
So I have a younger sister. She's 17. I have a younger brother who's 15, and I have a younger brother who's 12.
Okay. So no baby sibling type thing where it's
no. Yeah. The
second mother almost.
No, not really. I mean, I guess my youngest brother, there's a 7-year age difference, is pretty significant, but not in the way of being a second mother in any way. Yeah, but definitely it's different, the relationship I have with my youngest brother, than I have with my sister, for example, because we're only 2 years apart. Yeah. I feel my sister's more my friend, if that makes sense, or more my my whereas my youngest brother we'd never be friends. If we weren't,
obviously.
That'd be weird.
Yeah.
We'd never be friends if we weren't related, but we get along pretty well. Or
That's
then
good.
we really don't, and then we really do. You know.
Does he play hockey?
No.
What? You have to get him into hockey.
He
Come
plays
on.
ball hockey.
Okay, that's not bad.
To be
To
honest,
start.
yeah, in BC, like I'm not saying a lot that people don't play hockey, but it's definitely a way bigger thing to play hockey here in Ontario. And my parents were really into skiing, and they were like, oh, like if we have those early morning practices on the weekends, we can't go skiing.
Yeah.
But then we all ended up doing sports anyways, which required practice on the weekends. So,
Nice.
you know, it didn't really work out.
Have you discovered any new extracurriculars this year?
I definitely have. I feel like last year I was such a newbie to like being in university and like having clubs and stuff.
Yeah.
So I didn't join any,
Yeah.
which I feel like is unfortunately the like just like the fall that most first year students take. They just have so much else like going on. You don't really think of joining clubs. So I joined actually a couple of clubs focusing on like women's issues and like women's advocacy. And I also this year I became an office volunteer at the UofT Sexual Education Center.
Nice.
Because I'm interested in sexual health. And
Yeah.
so I definitely got more into that sort of stuff this year, whereas I feel like last year I was just like, I don't know what's going on here. Like, I'm just trying to get through the day.
When did your passion for women's health and like that side of things start? Like, was it during COVID with all that?
I think it was, to be honest. Like I just started consuming a lot more information online, which we talked about earlier before the camera started rolling. Don't believe everything you see online.
Yeah.
But I feel like I just really started consuming more from online during the pandemic because I had a lot more time, and just also all like, I don't want to say the unrest that was going on in the world at that time, but I feel like a lot of people were just drawing attention to different like normalized practices and being like, hey, maybe this should change because it hasn't changed like 100 years and the world isn't the same as it once was. And then I don't know, honestly, throughout like high school, like my grade 12 year after COVID, when we'd come back, or not after COVID, but after the initial lockdown where just everyone was at home, like for the first couple of months of the pandemic or whatever, I actually joined a Women's Day team as well, and we helped organize an International Women's Week at our high school. I actually led a seminar then on internalized misogyny, which was like probably one of like the first like real things I did to like get that interest started. And I know, I feel like honestly it came naturally to me. Like I'd always had this interest in healthcare and in science, and then when I really started becoming interested in like women's issue and women's health and feminism, this kind of went like that, you know, it all just came together like in a very like natural sort of way.
I was talking with Abe a couple weeks ago about climate change because he's super into climate change and climate advocacy and all that stuff, and we were talking about how obviously in the world there are a lot of social issues.
Too many.
Too many, right? So like climate change, misogyny, like you mentioned, and all that stuff. Where do you think that women's issues, I know this is hard to do, it's kind of subjective, but if you had to rank it on the totem pole of...
Oh, I can't do that.
You can't
do not
do that?
make me do that. No.
For you, obviously, it's at the top because that's like something you're personally interested in, right?
Yeah.
But if, that's because there are a lot of... I guess it's too many to think of, to count.
Well, also, I feel like where you rank the issues also has to do a lot with the way you're raised. Like, honestly... Everyone's
personal experience, right?
It's like, I hate to like be this person because I know a lot of people hate on these kind of like conversations, but honestly the fact that like women's issue is the biggest thing on my radar is like a privilege, and that I haven't really like experienced the effects of climate change like a huge degree. Like it hasn't affected my livelihood that much. Like I haven't really been affected by racism in my life because I haven't had to navigate that, like being like white or whatever. So I guess it really would like depend on like the person that you talk to and their experiences with it, because like I haven't really had much experience with anything other than, you know, misogyny. Like
that is exactly what Abe said, actually, because he did say that it is a privilege to have something like climate change at the top of your list because there are so many things that people are dealing with. So that's interesting that you also mentioned that there's like a double, like both of you guys are saying the same thing of how there are a lot of issues in the world, and at the end of the day, like, I'm not saying you have to be grateful, but at least you're not dealing with other stuff because there's like war going on. At least you're like, when obviously climate change is a bad thing, but at least you're not in Ukraine right now.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So that's good to have that perspective. Yeah, that's really interesting. What would you say? I'll ask you a Victoria College question.
Okay.
I don't know how much experience you have with other places, but if you had to speak to someone who's trying to choose their college right now, what are the the perks, the pros, and the cons, the downsides of going to Victoria College.
I had a really great experience at Vic. I remember I was a little I wasn't necessarily super happy with my choice when I first got there because I didn't feel like I really fit in, but I cannot complain because I met the best people there and had like the best time. And the one thing I will say is because U of T is like the college program, you'd think that each college would be like very like uniform in policies, but it's not at all. Like each one's their own thing. And I remember I would get frustrated last year because Victoria College took a very much more strict stance to COVID than the other colleges did. And when you're first at like your first year of university and all the other colleges are able to like eat in their dining halls and we weren't, that kind of like upset me because I was like, how am I gonna make friends? Like I'm gonna eat in my room all alone and no one's gonna know who I am.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I would do it again. To be honest, I did not know what I was getting into when I first
Me neither.
applied to Vic. I'm from Victoria, BC, and I picked Victoria College. I did not know anything. So probably to any first years, I'd recommend Reddit. Reddit has saved me so many times. Like U of T is like a very active like Reddit like forum or thread or whatever. Look up everything. Look up courses. Look up profs. Look at colleges. Like you will find what you need. And like I know it's like we're talking about like reputable sources. It's not a primary source, not peer reviewed, but I've learned a lot from there.
That's good. Yeah, Phil was talking about because he used Reddit too to come to Margat. All I did was go on the U of T page and I honestly misread Victoria College. I thought it was like kind of like a business finance college.
No.
Honestly, I don't know where I read that, but that's what I thought. And then I applied. And then like a couple days later, I was like, this is actually a liberal arts school. And I was like, wait, what?
See, that's also where I felt like I didn't necessarily fit in because I'm in sciences, right? And everyone at Victoria College is in like the humanities or like more like artistic degrees.
There are a lot of music students too.
A lot of music students with the practice rooms and Margat and stuff. Which were not open when we were there, so everyone practiced their instruments in their room, so the floor was so loud. Like that's a perk of going to a smaller college because you really get to know the people on your floor, which I don't think we necessarily would have done things like that if we had a lot more people.
And we had a sweet Dawn too. Masoma was a G. She was good. She was a good Dawn. Our Dawn this year is also super chill.
Yeah.
Chan, shout out to Chan. Yeah, he's great. Obviously, I did my Dawn application. And Krishna and Adam, the boys, all three of us going in together. We were like, we're going to be Dawns this year. It's going to be a new era for our group, the Dawn 2023-2024 team. And then me and Krishna got the boot right now. Aden's grinding. He's on the final stage.
Shortlist. Wow.
Shortlist. Yeah. Do you know how cool that would be if Adam was our Dawn? That part.
It might make me come back to res. Like if Adam was the Dawn.
That would be sweet. He'd make a good Dawn for sure.
He definitely would. Plus he just loves res so much.
Yeah, that's true. I think honestly, I'm gonna defend res for a bit here.
I wasn't trying to
I'm gonna be pro res. Elle's super anti res.
No, do not just post this like 40-second like clip of you saying that I hated residency because I did not. Like this is false advertising.
I'm gonna chop up a clip of TikTok. Elle hates res. It's I like being on campus. How far are you from campus?
I'm like a 20-minute walk every day.
See, that would be a pain in the ass. Is that not a pain in the ass?
There's pros and cons because I can't really go back to school during the day. Like once I'm on campus until I'm off campus.
I see. Okay.
Whereas when you're living on campus, obviously, like you can go back to your room. You can take a nap if you get really tired, which I cannot do. Like I have fallen asleep at a table in the library before. I kind of do like it because then it's like I have school and like work and I have home. It's like very separate. So like every morning I'll like do my walk into school. I'll have my music in. I'll just be like nice. I have the 20-minute walk just to like prepare myself for the day. I just like I'm at school, going to class, going to the gym, going to practice, studying at the library until it's time for me to go home. I go home and then I'm done. Like as I said, I procrastinate going to bed. But it's just nice to have that separation from work and school.
You know what? I was going to just go on like a little speech, a 5-minute speech about how I'm super pro res, but that was a very good argument. Separating home and school, actually, that makes a lot of sense. I don't know if I'm going to do res next year now. That does make a lot of sense because like I do a lot of studying in my room and
See,
You
my
need to
room,
have that distinction.
my room's so small I can't even have a desk. Like,
Oh, really?
yeah.
There you go. I'll say my thing anyways, but it's gonna sound stupid now. I just like being on res. Once again, food. Unless you're a good chef, that's gonna be a problem. Now I just sound like an idiot. I'm not gonna go against what Elle said because no, it makes sense. Like you have to force yourself to get to class. If you have the option of your class being 5 minutes away, then you could sleep in. Why would you want to
Exactly.
sleep in though? Makes a lot of sense.
Who would ever want to sleep in?
Okay,
That's
no, but like, why would
crazy.
you? I mean, like, sleep in when you're supposed to be up for class.
Yeah,
you could like sleep through a
totally.
class, which is not good. What's
Mhm.
the hardest class? What's the biggest pain in the ass class that you have so far?
Oh. Honestly, I mean, if you go on Reddit, this is something you'll actually see. But U of T in the biology, life sciences, first semester of second year is brutal.
Yeah,
That is the hardest I have ever had to work and the worst I have ever been like mentally, physically doing, because they make you take, you know what? I feel like I'm being a bit unfair because I feel like we have a bit of a unique experience at university because our first year was like the hybrid COVID year, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the majority of my big classes where I would have been in Con Hall with like 1,000 people doing these really big like weeder classes, I was in my bedroom doing it online, which is like a
Yeah.
very different experience. You don't like experience how many people are actually in this class because you're in smaller sections
For
or
sure,
whatever,
for sure.
and you're online and your tests are online, which is obviously very different. But then when all of my classes last year had like 1,300 people in them, and I was just like literally in and out of Con Hall every single day, and having to take all my tests in person again is like a very different experience. And like it's just something which takes some getting used to after having done so many of your tests online. And all of those courses are really hard. Like biochem was hard.
Yeah.
Genetics was hard. Like I'm very glad that I'm through it now, and I'm on to more specific things to my minor, because those were like the last courses major and minor. Those were like the last like generalized courses I had to take that most life science students will take before they actually like specialize into their programs.
Yeah, for sure. Have you put in any thought to grad school? Do you want to do grad school?
I want to go to med school.
Med school, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. Do you have like any idea where?
Dream.
Wherever it will take you.
Yeah, that's like the actual
Basically
like
what it is.
truth.
Yeah.
I mean, my dream, I guess, like my idealized scenario of my future is that I end up going to UBC for med school.
That'd be sweet.
Going back home. I actually don't live in Vancouver, or my family's not from there, but I live on Vancouver Island, so it's just like an hour and a half ferry ride away. So I'm like closer to my family, which is sometimes really hard, like being across the country when everyone else in my family lives in British Columbia. So like being near my family, but still having my own independence. Plus, one perk is BC as in-province priority. So you need a lower average to get in than out-of-province students do.
Nice.
So it might be my best shot at getting in anywhere anyways.
That's huge. Yeah, no, that's sweet. Speaking of BC, I'll ask you about this now.
Oh,
We're
yeah.
talking about it before the cameras. We talked before the cameras. Come on, whatever. They recently have legalized all sorts of shit. Heroin, morphine, and fentanyl. Obviously low quantities. But this was like big news.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
So as I was saying earlier, I have some mixed feelings, and I also recognize that I'm not the most educated person on this topic. Like, to be honest, I have read the headlines about this stuff. I have not fully read the articles talking about their reasons for doing this or why like they should not. But I guess my general opinion is it's been done in a lot of Scandinavian countries. It's had a lot of success in Sweden, had a lot of success in Norway. I don't really know if Canada has the same sort of structure that this program would work in the same way or be as successful, because in Scandinavian countries it's a lot smaller, very homogenous. Like, I guess that's changing now, but Canada has a lot of immigration. There's a lot of people from all over. They kind of brand themselves like the cultural mosaic, so that could be hard to have these sort of policies come in, which has been previously successful in more homogenous places. But also, as someone who has has lived in BC for like their entire life and really seen how bad the homeless problem has gotten, mostly because of drug addiction and drug use, all the previous strategies that they've tried are not working. So at least they're trying something different. And maybe if this actually allows people who have not been seeking out help to actually get that help that they need to like get their life back on track because they've been worried about going to jail for like being in possession of these substances, I think that could be a plus. So we'll see. Like I was saying, it's only in place, I think, for 3 years. I mean, it's just temporary. They're going to see how it all plays out. I mean, I do think it'd be very hard to suddenly make all the substances illegal again after legalizing it. Like that's something also to consider. But I think that if it can help to try and get more people back on track with their lives and like getting the support that they need, then I think that's obviously a good thing. But again, I'm not an expert. Like I don't know everything about this. If I said something like horribly offensive or wrong, I'm so sorry.
Most people are not experts. Usually the people who share their opinions on Twitter, I'm going to guess, don't know exactly what they're talking about. That's just what I think. We'll go on to less severe drug problems. I'll ask you about vape and weed and stuff, which is getting more and more common with especially young people. Like there are people in elementary schools in my town. Like my cousin will tell me about stories of her friends in grade 7 bringing their vape to school. What do you think about that?
I just think it's really sad because when vapes were originally like established or like introduced, it was marketed as a way to help people who are trying to quit
smoking. Exactly.
But I feel like it's honestly had the opposite effect because the majority of people I know will not really smoke a cigarette, to be honest. Like I feel like that idea that smoking is bad for you and that it causes cancer and it causes all sorts of like health problems really has permeated our culture. A lot of people don't understand that. But I just think Juul actually had like a lawsuit against them because they were like, or has a lawsuit against them right now. I'm not entirely sure about. It was very problematic that like these like flavors and stuff were being marketed towards young kids. So it really just got like more children addicted to nicotine, which was like the opposite of what it was supposed to do. So I think that's like sad. And I think it's really sad to get addicted to something so young.
That's
too.
True. That's true.
Because you really just don't, you're so vulnerable when you're young. Like, I mean, I'm 19, I'm still vulnerable. Like, I'm not gonna pretend, but I just feel like it's very unfair. It's like preying on a very vulnerable population and just to make a profit. And it's, I don't know, like, that's the future. Like that's the future. Like we want to like try and like build everyone up and like give them like the best shot at like being successful. You don't want to get them completely like dependent on like nicotine.
That's true. And the fact that there's people who still don't like, because originally when vape was first thing, nobody really knew much about it. Everyone's like, oh, it's water. It's not a big deal. But they said the same thing when cigarettes were out. Nobody thought it was a big deal. Obviously, you're going to learn. They're making it for 13 cents a pod in China or whatever, in these countries where it's super cheap. And like, that's obviously it can't be good. And
I know. It's also just scary because we haven't lived long enough and they haven't been around long enough for us to see the long-term effects like we have with smoking. I know. It's just like sad. But like I'm not trying to like, if anyone listens to this and like they vape, I'm not judging. Like you do you.
Elle's very nice. I'm a little more judgmental. I make fun of you if you're taking cherry ice blasts and nicotine in your lungs. I like having this double-sided thing because I was like, people will disagree with me, people will agree with Elle, and then we'll have both sides.
Okay.
You know? It's good. I do that on purpose. Hopefully we don't get too many hate comments.
If I get hate comments, I'm gonna be really upset.
There's no way you could get hate comments. Actually, that's not true. There's some clowns out there. People just hate for no reason.
That's also true. I feel like my toxic trait sometimes though is I just assume everyone likes me. So then, and you know, everyone
That's not bad.
No, I don't know, because like not everyone's gonna like you, and that's just a fact, and that's totally bad. Like if you don't like me, you don't like me. I can't really change that. But I feel like I'll just be like, oh, like I can't like. That they'll like be giving me like vibes, like they don't really like me, and I just don't pick up on them like at all.
Well, it makes kind of sense because you're not doing anything that you would think would make someone not like you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you had a bad trait about yourself, then that you actually agree with, you'd try to fix it.
I mean, like everyone has bad traits with themselves. Like we all have bad habits. Like
fair. But do you have any bad habits that you are like aware of that you don't fix?
Usually I'll make like a conscious effort to like actually fix them.
Yeah. I'd like to think that most people at least think they're doing good.
Yeah, because people want to be liked. You don't really want to be doing stuff
yeah.
that's making other people not want to be friends with you.
True. Unless, yeah, okay, well, I just went and made fun of a bunch of people for smoking vapes, but
Smoking vapes.
Vaping, sorry, vaping. I don't know my terminology. I just aged myself so hard. Do you have any closing thoughts for the people here, for Victoria College as a second year?
Oh, that's so much pressure. Oh my God. I feel like one thing I will say is I kind of already touched on this as well. Like being at U of T and like I feel like most people, your listeners, are probably at University of Toronto, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or at least at the moment.
100%, yeah.
Before, you expand, go global, all that stuff, go viral.
We'll try.
I feel like one thing I will say is enjoy your life. Like I know we were talking about I was talking about how I have a really strict schedule, not strict, but I follow a routine every single day. And I was talking about the toxic productivity culture and toxic studying culture, which is kind of permeates here. But make sure that you're taking some time for yourself. Life is meant to be enjoyed, and do things like this, have a podcast where you get to talk about things that you enjoy and get to do things that you like. And even if it's, I guess, herd mentality, have fun being a sheep,
Have fun being a sheep. That's a good closing quote. Yeah. Peace out, everybody.